Hey, this is Pants for Squares 41, and today we're going to review the Bob Long Marq Victory. So, overall, Bob Long did a pretty good job on this marker. It performs well, it looks pretty good, and, there's no extra exotic milling on it, jack up the price or whatever. So, we're going to go into an overall review of the whole gun, go into some specs and stuff, and then we'll go out and we'll test shoot the gun, and you guys can leave your comments and thoughts on the review. So first off is the clamping feed neck on this one. It's pretty standard, not a bunch of extra bells and whistles to it. It does its job. It's, I'd say, maybe slightly better than the Gen 1 Mark feed necks, which just had that little lever on the inside with the screw to adjust it. But it's pretty standard stuff for high-end guns like this. So next is the eye system on this. Now this is compatible with a 2 and a 4 eye system that, Bob Long does on most of his guns these days. And the difference between the two is the 4 eye system has a set of eyes up top here that allows the gun to see the ball as it comes down the breech. Now what that does is when it comes down, the gun senses the ball coming through the breech, and it gets the gun all set up and charged and ready to shoot, and then when it hits the bottom sensor, then it's already, set and ready, and right when it hits the bottom, you can shoot the gun at. And what that does is it helps, prevent ball breakage, because the ball is just perfectly seated right in there and ready to shoot right when it hits the bottom. So it can shoot it straight out as soon as it hits the bottom. And it also helps with ball bounce, so you can increase rate of fire and also prevent ball chops. It doesn't bounce, it doesn't hit the bottom and bounce back up. As soon as it hits the bottom, it's ready to fire, shoot it straight out. So it's a very well designed system. I have a set of 2 eyes right here. This is, kind of a circuit board looking design, and you notice also that these ones are the Victory eyes. So keep in mind that these eyes are only compatible with the Victory markers and not the Gen 1 stuff. So, if you're looking to upgrade your mark, make sure you get the right model with the right eyes. So next on this gun is the engine. Now this is a supercharged engine on this gun, and all Victories are supercharged, so don't let anyone, if you're buying a gun on like Nation or something like that and someone says, oh, my Victory is upgraded with a supercharger engine, that's not an upgrade. It's a better engine, but they all come like that. So I think if something is standard on a marker, it's not an upgrade. They all perform the same way, so don't let anyone, jack up the price on you for a supercharged Victory, because they all are. Now, I'm going to pull out the engine on this so you guys can look and see what a supercharger engine looks like. And then in addition to that, I have a proficiency engine here, so you can look to see what the difference is between the two. So here's the proficiency engine, here's the supercharger engine. First thing you'll probably notice is the bolt is different. This one's just a clean, straight looking bolt. This one has like the extra missing, chunk of metal right there. And does that really help with the efficiency? I don't know. I mean, I run this in my Mark Edge, and I have this obviously in the Victory. Do I notice a bunch of efficiency difference? Not much, really. So, if you're looking to get a proficiency engine or a supercharger engine, they're almost the same. So, don't stress out too much about having a supercharger engine over a proficiency engine. I haven't noticed much of a difference in efficiency, and you'll notice that the engines look almost exactly the same. And the only real difference between the two is right here. Is you'll see that the spring is held on by what they look like little prongs that stick out, and that's just for the supercharger engine. And these ones have like a little ring around it. Now, also, I don't know if this actually improves efficiency or what it does, lightens up the engine slightly, but I guess you gotta go research and look that up for yourself. One other difference on these things is the bolts are also incompatible with each other. So you'll notice if I try to stick a proficiency engine on the supercharger engine, then it doesn't fit. Same thing with the supercharger bolt. So, you've got a proficiency engine and you find a supercharger bolt because you lost your proficiency engine bolt. You can't stick the supercharger bolt on there. It doesn't work. Nor, the same thing, you lose your supercharger, bolt, and you want to find another bolt, you find a proficiency one, it doesn't fit. You gotta, fit them together. So keep that in mind when buying both. And yeah, that's about it, the difference between the two. Now also, I want to show you guys the pressure testers for both. Now this is the Gen 1 pressure tester, this is the Victory pressure tester. And obviously differences in size and shape. And the main thing is that you can't, they're not compatible with each other. So this one's only going to fit in the Victory, and you'll notice that mostly because you'll see like the sloped, edge to it, and that will, it fits in the flush. Because you'll also find, Gen 1 pressure testers that look a lot like this, but they still don't work. You can't swap swap the two. So keep in mind, if you buy a Marq and it doesn't come with the pressure tester and you want to buy one, make sure you get the right one. Make sure it's a Victory test you're buying or a Gen 1 that you're buying. So those are those. And I will stick the engine back together for you. And so also on these Victories is the feel when you're shooting. So this one, this is a poppet, inline poppet valve gun. And the difference is, if you look at an Ego, it's a poppet valve, it's got, two tubes, one on the top for the bullet, one on the bottom for the rammer. And, the main difference really is that this is an all-in-one, and there's really not much of a rammer in this setup. It's a bit different. It's almost kind of like a cross between a spool and a poppet. And the nice thing is you get the, you get both. You get the efficiency of a poppet, and you get the smoothness of a spool, or a bit of a smoothness like a spool. It's a bit smoother than most poppets, but not quite as smooth as a spool valve. And the efficiency on this gun also. Bob Long says 15 pods on a 6845 for a supercharger engine. Now he's actually pretty accurate on that one. I run a 7045, and I usually get about 4,000 on my fills at the field I use. So I get about 12 pods off the 70 with a 4,000 fill. So that's almost spot on. You do the math a little bit, and you get about 15 pods on a 70-45, which obviously 2 inches difference. And that's great efficiency. You'll see a lot of guns, they only get around 10 pods. 15 pods, it's phenomenal. I mean, that's more paint than pretty much anyone can hold on their back. So it's performed well, especially for me. I play in the back, I hold a whole bunch of paint, and I can shoot it all with just one tank fill. So great efficiency, great design on the whole engine assembly. So next is the reg on this, and the reg, you'll notice it's pretty stubby, but I personally prefer it. But there's also longer regs out there that you can go buy, and in case this doesn't fit your style and you hold it a bit lower, you can always find a longer reg. This is a shim stack reg, now, as opposed to a spring reg, and it's reliable, does what it needs to. Nothing, no extra bells and whistles. Bob Long didn't need to put some weird reg that does something funky for the gun. It's a good reg, performs just fine, and same as all Bob Long stuff. It's pretty standard. Adjusting screw on the bottom, and in for up and out for less. Now, the next on this is the trigger. Bob Long, of course, he does pretty good on his triggers. This is just the stock trigger on the Victory. I think it performs just fine. There's always the violent triggers out there, the critical triggers that people put on them. But stock, right out of the box, it's a definitely good trigger. And the nice thing is, I personally prefer a very light pull, and this only uses the spring from the micro switch. That's all there is. There's no extra spring for return or whatever, or extra pull. It's just the micro switch, and it provides a very light pull.